Welcome back to Let's Talk It Out with Miss Olmos. I'm so excited to get back to recording. I hope you've had a great start to your summer. Today's guest is a 5th grade teacher. She's someone who's so devoted to get to know her students wholeheartedly. She's someone who likes to plan and helps keep everyone organized. She truly just has so many great attributes. I'm so excited for you to visit with her today and come along our fun conversation. Let's give Miss Turner a warm welcome. Hi, Miss Turner. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know that it's a busy time. You have so much going on, so your time this afternoon is very much appreciated.
I'm excited to be here.
When I thought about getting the agenda ready for today, there's a circle that I don't know that I had even processed for myself. I'll take it back to when I was pregnant with Miguelito. I had to have 12 weeks of bed rest. And I didn't know you well back then, but you were my long-term sub 12 years ago for that season of my life. And 12 years later, you were his teacher, and you built this relationship with him that at that time in my life, I would have never been like, the person being my sub is going to be my child's teacher.
I think it's the same classroom that I teach in now, correct?
It is.
Yes.
Like, life just throws these circles at you that you don't ever know.
It's crazy.
It's a full circle.
I'm so thankful for it, though.
Oh, me too. I'm thankful that Miguelito has that relationship with you and that you get to know him on that level.
He's wonderful.
Thank you. So we're going to take it back. I really just want to go, I feel like one of the facts that I know about you is that you are not born in Texas.
No.
Right?
No,
okay.
Correct.
So I know bits and pieces of your timeline.
Yes.
So I would love for you to just take us down your timeline.
Start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning. Okay. Where were you born? And then please include anything. I'll stop you in the middle and ask you questions about your timeline. But where did all this start? Krista Turner now, but what's your maiden name?
Bergen.
I knew that. Graduated with Kim.
Yes, you did.
So Krista Bergen, where did it all start?
So I was born in Minot, North Dakota. My dad worked, he was a truck driver, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and he got transferred around several times when I was growing up, so we lived in several different small towns throughout my growing up, and when 2 weeks before I started my junior year in high school, we moved to Spearman from Texas. And so I finished my high school career in Spearman, went to college at Tarleton, and said I will never come back because I was just so upset that I had been taken away from all my friends in North Dakota, all the way across the country. And lo and behold, I graduated from Tarleton and got married and ended up back in Spearman right after Sam was born. So about 21 years ago. Yeah.
So born in North Dakota. So when you moved around, was it all in North Dakota?
Yes,
North Dakota?
yes. That's the only state I'd ever lived in until I moved to Texas.
And then moved to Texas. But let's talk about little Krista.
Yes.
What do you remember in North Dakota? Like, what are your some most fond memories?
So I grew up in the 80s. So it was a lot of riding bike around town and going to the swimming pool during the summer. I went to small schools about the same size as Spearman. So just, my friends and all that stuff. I liked school. Mom always said I didn't like to miss school. And I don't know if that's because I was a good student or I just wanted to be involved in everything. I don't know.
Well, if it's because of Krista, I know. It's like, you need all of the things,
Maybe a little bit of that.
Like, I need to be at school. I don't want to miss. So in the timeline, when was Kim born?
So she was born 10 years after I was. There's 10 years between us. She started kindergarten in Spearman. So we moved right before her first year of school, and then she got to finish school here. So I went to multiple different schools through my career, and she started and ended in Spearman.
What was the hardest adjustment coming from North Dakota to Texas?
So school-wise, your requirements were quite a lot different, as in when you took them. So when I moved to Texas, I had to take a lot of classes as a junior with freshmen because they weren't required there, or they did them in a different time frame. So that was interesting. On the flip side, in North Dakota, I was able to get my driver's license when I was 14, and in Texas, you had to be 16. So I was very fortunate that I was already 16, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to keep it. So
what about, like, is it North Dakota or South Dakota where they don't call Coke Coke?
Pop.
Yes,
Yep.
Yep. And I just know that because someone from maybe it's Chad Knowlton.
Probably
Canada
he's
that
from
have-
South Dakota.
Yeah, that their family would come and
Yep.
then I'd be working at the movies and they'd be like, "Can I have a pop?"
Yep.
I'm like,
Yes.
sure.
It's a pop.
What is that?
Mm-hmm. Coke is a Coke.
Was there a lot of that?
Oh yes, a lot of things like that. When I was in high school, I took some classes with boys that were seniors, and they would constantly make fun of my accent that they thought I had. I didn't think I had an accent, but thought they did. My sister had very good English when she moved here. Everything was spoken very specifically, and she lost it very quickly. She picked up the Texas twang, and my mom still has a little bit of it though, especially if she goes up north and visits family. She picks it up a little bit again. It's funny.
That was gonna be my next question. Like, do you go to North Dakota often?
I don't.
You don't.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do they say that you have a Texas accent now?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Mhm. My family was all just here for graduation, and so just listening to them talk and stuff. And there's a lot of Norwegian in our family, so there's a lot of that.
Have your boys ever been to North Dakota and like you give them a little tour like this?
Oh,
is
yes.
Where I used to.
The boys have been. Brad has never. Brad has been to every state around North Dakota, but has not been to North Dakota yet. The boys have been several times. So one of the towns that I grew up in for a while, and my mom graduated from, we went there. It is Stanley, North Dakota, and they have the only whirl-a-whip machine in the world. And so it's like a soft serve ice cream. They take card candies like Jolly Rancher and stuff and crush them up and mix it in. And so the world famous whirl-a-whip, you'll have to look it up.
Oh wow.
You have to go get it every time you go.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
That's cool. So we talked a lot about North Dakota. You told me you moved to Texas.
Mhm.
Go to Charlton. I didn't know you went to Charlton.
I
For
did.
some reason, I assumed that you were just a tech.
No, that's just my sister.
And at where in the timeline do you meet Mr. Brad?
In Stephenville.
Oh, you
He
did?
was already graduated. So my best friend, his name was Tony. He worked with Brad, and Tony's from Spearman also. And he worked with Brad, and they had a New Year's Eve party, and that's where Brad and I met. He was already out of school, and I was getting close to graduating, so we met there.
Was it
The rest is history.
just it's
Yeah.
history? How
Mhm.
many years later?
Well, we met, New Year's Day, I guess, technically, of 2001. Yeah, so 24 years? Yeah, 24 and a half? Since we met, yeah.
I've said this before, but I love love stories. I love love
Yeah.
stories.
It was pretty neat. We came actually to a dance for New Year's Eve. Was it New Year's Eve? Maybe not. We went to a dance, and you had to sign in when you got there. And my mom signed us in as Mr. and Mrs. Brad Turner, and she's like, "Well, it's official now." And we were still just dating. Brad was like, "Oh."
So, but how did y'all end up back in Spearman?
So my dad owned a company at the time, and Brad was working for him in Decatur. That was after we got married. And there just wasn't as big of a need for it in that area, and we were about to have Sam, and so he moved us back to Spearman to continue working with him. We were excited about it. I wanted to be closer to everybody when, with the baby and stuff, and we didn't have any family in Decatur, so.
And when you were in Spearman, early on you had a daycare, a home daycare?
So I babysat a couple different kids,
Mhm.
yeah, several that went to school with my kids and or were either a year younger or something like that. So there were a lot of teacher kids that were in and out of there, and so I babysat them, and we would go to all the school functions and go to the library and stuff like that. And then when it got to a point where Mason was 4 years old, so I did that since Sam was a baby until he was in first or second grade, and then it got to a point where I needed to start looking for other sources of income, and I started to work for Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Oh.
And they were based out of Perryton, but it got me into the school system, and I just loved it. I loved being around the kids. Mason was 4, so he had stayed with my mom during the day when I was working, and then I decided to start substituting also, and so then that's how I ended up in your room.
Yeah. I remember the Big Brothers Big Sister program. That was a good
It
program.
was a great program.
They, I was gonna say you were naturally always connected to kids,
Yes.
because you babysit, and then now you're saying Big Brothers
Mhm.
turned into sub, and then
Yeah.
like a teacher.
Yeah.
I was going to do the math. Have you ever done the math? How many students? And this is
Oh,
just really
gosh.
like at GBE.
No.
like, you know, how many years per class? I was gonna try to include the math in here. I'm like, I don't even know. How many years have you been at Jupiter?
So this was my 8th year in the classroom.
And that's just your classroom.
That was as
that
an
doesn't
actual
include the subbing and the
because
babysitting.
I did a lot of long-term maternity leaves. So the class that I had for 2 years, it was COVID year, and that was the year I moved from 4th grade to 5th grade. I actually had them also in 1st grade for a long-term sub. So I taught them 3 times.
You're gonna watch one of your babies that you babysit graduate tonight.
No.
Like, it literally just goes by so fast. So not tonight.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Still, like, you've shown me pictures of Elise and Mason.
They're 4 days apart. They were born 4 days apart. Elise was actually supposed to be older than Mason, and Mason decided to come early, and so he is he's 4 days older than her, and they've been close ever since they were babies.
And now they're both off into what we call the real world. They've been part of the real world, but you know, adulting.
Yes.
So Ms. Turner, we've talked about several seasons, but you're about to go into a very big season of your life of being an empty nester.
Yeah.
My intention was not to make you cry. It really wasn't. Really, someone out there will relate to this.
Yes.
But is there something that makes you super nervous about being an empty nester?
Everything. So when we moved to Spearman, Sam was a baby, and I moved around a lot, and I'm not a big person on change. I don't love change. I'll do it if I feel like it's gonna make me grow, but I don't like it just to do it. And I felt like it was hard for me growing up to constantly be having to meet new people and make new friends and find a place to fit in. And so that was one of the things Brad and I agreed on, was that once our kids started school, we would stay. He moved around some too, and it was just one of the things that we felt like we needed to do. So Sam graduated in 22 and went on to tech, and he is doing great, and he absolutely loves it there. And Mason is also going to go to tech. So having them both in one place is exciting, but having them away it's different, very different. There's a lot of little things that I don't think I've realized that I'm not going to do anymore, like pack lunches and do laundry, and you know, I won't need to grocery shop as much because there's not these teenage boys that are eating everything in the house. So a lot of stuff. I'm ready. I'm excited to see where they go and what they do. They definitely make us proud.
You should be so proud. I literally got the chills in hearing you talk, because as a parent, and I would say as a young parent, now I have a junior high, so early, I don't know what you would call it, my season. You know how often we hear, it goes by fast.
It does.
It goes by fast. You hear that all of the time. I say it all of the time. But until you hit these milestones, you're like, oh my gosh.
You don't realize how fast. So when I started teaching in the elementary, in a full-time classroom position, Mason was in 5th grade. So my first year in the classroom was Mason's 5th grade year. So it really, it just feels like yesterday.
I bet it does. So while there's a lot of hard in empty nesting, is there anything that you're looking forward to?
Oh my gosh. I told the boys there's 2 things that I want to do, and they like to make fun of me, because if you know anything about my mom, you know she is a baker, and she makes the best cookies, and everybody knows her for it, and I cannot bake to save my life. I will burn it, or it will be raw, or something will be wrong. I can make banana bread. That's the only thing. So I said I'm going to learn how to bake a decent cookie, and I'm going to learn how to sew, at least hem something, because those still go to my mom. So I'm excited to be able to do the things that I've wanted to do, and I just never feel like I find time to do, because there's always other things going on.
I bet they'll in some way still keep you busy.
Oh my goodness,
you know,
I'm sure. Well, so they'll only be about an hour and a half from me, so
which is that is so nice, because it could still be a day trip.
Yeah.
You know, maybe meet for lunch every
from
once in a
Spearman
while.
Amarillo. Yeah.
And is Sam in a serious relationship?
Yes.
Have you thought about that season?
Oh my goodness. He told me I'm not allowed to.
Okay.
So.
Okay. That's okay. And you want him to take it slow.
They've been dating for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. They're great.
Mm.
Her name's Kaylee. I love her. She's
I'm
super
glad.
sweet. Yeah.
I pray to love
She puts up with a lot in him, so.
I love that. I love to hear that. Still kind of staying on the topic of your boys, whether it was them growing up, maybe it's something similar, it could be different. But now that you have both boys going out to the real world, is there an advice that you feel like you repeatedly tell them that you want something that you really want them to stay in their heart?
Oh my gosh. While they were growing up, one thing that was always very important to me and Brad was that they grew up in the church. So that is very important, and I do see that something that they follow through, and they hold dear to. Just to have a good, strong faith, and just genuinely be good people. I just want them to be good people and see that you can make mistakes and still be a good person, and it doesn't mean that you're not capable or not worthy, but that's what life's about. You make mistakes and you grow and you learn from it. And I think if you ask both of them, they would both say that they have had their share of trials. And you know, Mason's just starting college, but he'll see that more as he gets there. And life's not always as easy as you think it's going to be. Going from Spearman, where everybody knows you, or most people know you, you know, you walk around the high school and everybody knows who you are, and they give you grace on a lot of things, and then you get to college where you're just another name on the roster in some classes. Not all of them, a lot of them are very personal, but some of them are huge, and you're just a name there. They don't have the reminders and the, you know, the little push to do what you need to do. So
I have several thoughts on what you said, but going back to what you said about them making mistakes and knowing that, you know, like it's okay to make mistakes. It's so important to remind our kids about that, because we live in a world sometimes, you know, just different scenarios of life where you can't live it, you know, you just can't move past because of whether it's social media or so the fact that you were reminding them of that often, and that it's okay. It's okay. Like, you just gotta learn, and we gotta, you know, do better and move on.
And that is a big thing for me in my classroom also, is that the kids make mistakes. Being a math teacher, a lot of times they think it's black and white. It is. There's a way to get to an answer, and that's gonna be your answer. But they make mistakes, and I don't want them to be embarrassed by their mistakes. I want them to figure out what their mistakes are. So from the day they start, they understand that. And if you are ever in my classroom, you will see that kids understand that they make mistakes, and they have to tell me why they make mistakes. And they're very comfortable. You know, at the beginning, it's me calling on them and say, well, what did you do wrong? And they're kind of quiet and don't really want to, because they're afraid somebody's going to laugh at them or, you know, be embarrassed by the mistake. And then by the end, they're all raising their hand going, well, what I noticed is, and I love that. But they're also really good to call me out when I make a mistake. And I let them, because that's just showing the same thing. That
it doesn't matter what age you are,
exactly,
you're still going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I also love that you say about faith and how, you know, your children, and I agree with that, my children. Have you ever seen either the video or the visual about where you have a jar, and, you know, depending on what you put, it fits in just perfectly? And so I love to hear that, you know, that if you keep reminding them, if you have this foundation strong, everything else will be okay. So sometimes it doesn't feel like it. You should be very proud of your boys.
We are
super, super proud, and I am. In the bittersweet of things, I'm so happy that you'll be closer to them. Most people, you've kind of alluded to it, but most people know that you're moving. You and I, off camera, have talked about this quite a bit. So many bittersweet feelings. What will you miss most about Spearman?
Oh, I have been asked this question several times, and there's not one answer. I had a meeting with Miss Ramon the other day, and I told her the two things that are going to be the hardest for me to leave are the school and my church. They're just so much a part of me my kids and how we've grown. And it's all they've known, or all I've known of them. They started school here and they finished school here. Mason's never lived anywhere but Spearman. And so just knowing that some of those people I may never see again, you know. And not because I don't want to, just because our paths may not cross. Even if we are back in Spearman, you may not see the same people that you see, you know, just regularly. And it's really hard for me to think about, especially with the kids. There's a lot of kids that I keep close with, you know, and it may not be that I talk to them all the time, but when I see them, there's still a connection. And I'm fearful that it'll change, you know, that I'll go away and they won't see me regularly, and so they'll come back and they'll be like, Miss Turner, I remember her, but I don't really remember a lot about her.
I know that. I know that. I could attest to that 100%. I remember you, but I also understand change is hard.
Yeah.
Yesterday we were driving back from Amarillo, and I don't know, I just had that random thought of, you know, one day we'll be driving by our house, and as old people, you know, hope God allows me to go on our trip all together and be driving like, that used to be our house, you know, or that used to be so and so, and how just certain chapters sometimes just close. Yeah. And you, not that great things aren't coming for you, because I know that amazing things, you'll grow a community, and but closing some chapters is just hard.
Yes.
It's just hard. It really is. What does Miss Turner do for fun?
Well, for the last 21 years, it's been chasing my kids around. So when I am not with my kids or Brad, I like to walk the dogs. That's a big thing. They like to walk the dogs. They like it when I walk the dogs too. So we go for walks a lot, and that's just relaxing to me. I read, but usually just during the summer. I don't really find a lot of time to do that during the school year. I've kept scrapbooks for my kids since they've been young. And every once in a while I'll pick up a craft to do, but a lot of odds and ends stuff. I love going on vacations. Haven't done a lot of those in the last few years, but I just spend time with our family.
It all sounds great.
Yeah.
When you're a mom, a lot of your fun revolves around your kids, you know?
Yes.
And you really do. Seeing them be happy is really what brings us joy.
Oh,
you know?
I agree.
So,
I agree.
But you're about to hit the season where you'll do maybe some more sewing, like you said, and things like that. What is Miss Turner's biggest pet peeve?
Oh,
do you have a pet peeve?
I have a lot of pet peeves. I bet if Mason or Brad were here right now, they could tell you right off the top of their head. But I can't think of one just right off the top of my head. Noises bother me. Not like noise doesn't bother me in general, but like if people are like clicking their tongue or, you know, things like tapping their finger doesn't bother me, but just like odd noises, listening to people chew, stuff like that, that bothers me. But noise in general doesn't bother me. Like in the classroom, that doesn't bother me. I like to have things organized, but it's a chaotic organization. Like you may walk in and see piles, but they're organized piles. So
right now, that thinking about your organization, do you ever shop at Ross or TJ? What does that do to you?
I actually like it, but I get overstimulated and then I have to leave.
I'll confess.
Yeah.
If I'm in a good patience, probably pretty early in the day that we just started shopping, I can handle it more. But if it's the end of the day, we've been shopping for hours,
then it's no. Yeah, I'm exactly the same way. I love to go to Goodwill, but it has to be the same situation. I went yesterday and I probably spent about 30 minutes there, didn't find a single thing, and then I was done. Like I couldn't do it again. And then you have to take me to somewhere where I can find something on the rack, and I just love to browse.
Miguel doesn't like to take me to stores like that because something weird is that if I see something on the floor, I want to put it on the hanger, and he'll be like, do you want me to see if they're hiring? He's like, it takes you longer to organize this area than it is to look for what
you haven't even,
but it's a little overstimulating.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite funny memory?
Okay, yes. So it wasn't funny in the moment, but when I was going to be, oh gosh, was I going to be in first grade maybe? My family took a trip to St. Louis, and we had family there. So we went to visit, and we went to visit the Anheuser-Busch brewery where they produce beer.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get done, there was like a room where you could sit, and they had like soda fountains and beer fountains and stuff like that, and you could have samples. Well, everybody was just kind of done, so they were just sitting down visiting, and outside there was a display of a NASCAR, and my dad was outside looking at it, and I wanted to go from inside to outside. And so I went, well, to get there, it wasn't just a regular door, it was a revolving door. And as I was going through it, I got startled by somebody that came behind me in their own section, but kind of startled me. And so I got to going, and the glass was so clear that I hit the glass on the revolving door with my forehead and shattered it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was, then I was traumatized, like worried because I thought I was going to be in trouble. And so I ran off to my dad and grandfather, I think, were out there. And my grandpa said, just tell him, give me a case of beer and we'll drop the lawsuit. And I was like, we're not suing them. I did something wrong. But they made me get checked out by an EMT and all the things. And my mom made me stand beside it and take a picture with my shattered one. I think that was probably more traumatizing than anything.
As a mom, you want that memory, you know?
I probably would do the same thing now, but. Mm-hmm.
Well, I could see how in the moment that's not funny.
Gosh,
Now looking back.
Oh.
Okay, we can kind of laugh about it.
Yeah, I have the picture to prove
But
it.
you didn't have nothing? You didn't
Not
get
that
hurt?
I remember. No, it didn't break any skin or anything like that, but it was just embarrassing.
Oh, gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you see a revolving door, you think about that a lot.
I don't go through it.
I'm trying to think, where do you have one around here?
No, I do not do them. If I don't have to, I don't.
Now when I see a revolving door, I'm going to think of that.
Yeah, don't hit your forehead on it.
They're not super common. Maybe in
No,
bigger cities.
they're not anymore. Mm-mm.
Maybe in a bigger city.
And these were the ones you had to push to get through. They didn't work on their own,
Mhm.
so you had to push your way through. Nope. I'll stay away.
That's a cute story. We've kind of answered this already, but I'll ask in a different way. Maybe it'll spark a different answer. Now that you're in a different stage of your life or transitioning into a different state, is there anything that you're particularly passionate about?
I never envisioned myself being a teacher. So I would say that that's a big passion of me for me now. When I started working in the schools, it really was just to fill time. Like I have an income and fill time. And I substituted for many years, and people would say that all the time. Why don't you just teach? And I was like, I don't want to do that. And so finally I was like, well, maybe I should just teach. And so I did, and I love it. I mean, I think I should have been here a long time ago.
I do too.
I have no desire to be out of the classroom, though. I don't want to be administration or anything like that. When I went back after I started teaching and got my master's in my second year as a classroom teacher, I did it in instruction and curriculum because I feel like that's really where I'm supposed to be, is in the classroom with the kids. So, the kids may not agree.
No, yes, they do. And you really do have to be passionate when it comes to teaching.
Yeah.
Excuse me, because we could talk about this for a full hour, but number one, the pay scale.
Yeah,
But just
for sure.
Until you're in the classroom, until you're in education, you don't understand. You have to be invested for feelings
for
here versus,
Exactly.
you don't get the pat on the back. You don't get all of the things, and just you don't really get summers off.
No.
Like
I haven't
all
had a
of
day
those
off
things.
yet.
Yeah, like all of those things. Like, no, it's not true. I love to hear that continues to be your passion. I go back and forth about this question because sometimes I feel like we don't do justice, and so if you need to take some time to kind of think about it, it's okay. The role our parents play in our lives, because when you think about, we're both blessed to have our parents still, but when you think about the Krista Bergen, who was born in North Dakota, and the Krista Turner, who is now going to be an empty nester, and throughout every part of that timeline. They've been a part of your life.
Huge, yes.
So, what would you say about your parents? How do you describe them? What role, all of the things about your parents, who are they to you?
Oh my, it's a hard one to explain, but well, if you ask my mom, she's not my mom, she's my sister, and she did. In fact, she sent me a text issue. She's like, "There's no more being your sister," and it's kind of a joke here. She'll tell all the kids that we're sisters, and it started because when my sister was in college and we would all go places together, people would think my mom and I were sisters, and that one of us was Kim's mother. And so she just carries that on. So she loves to tell my students that I'm her sister. And, but they are just the best support system. Call with anything and walk you through it. And if they don't know it, they're going to try to figure out. I had to call my dad yesterday about some stuff about a house, and just whatever they're doing, they'll drop and do everything. And my dad's always been like the best handyman, so I'll call him and say, what do I need to do about this? And he'll either tell me, or he'll tell me how to do it, or what I need to do. And my mom will do anything to help when we need. So the last week of school was graduation, and she did this with both of the boys. She came and just kind of moved in and lived with us for the whole week, and did everything that needed to be done, from laundry to dishes to organizing everything that happened, because as a school teacher, the last week of school is already crazy. But when you have a senior in high school, the last week of school, it doesn't even double, it almost triples, because you've got family coming in, and you've got all of the events that you need to attend, and trying to finish school on top of it. And so she just will drop anything for all of us, and do that, and not because they have to, just because they want to. So
what would we do without them?
Oh
right?
my gosh,
Like, just
I don't think I tell them enough how much I appreciate them.
same, because just like our kids are always our babies, because sometimes my mom, she'll say something about my brothers, and I'm like, Mom, they're grown up, but
Yeah.
in her eyes, are we really?
Right. No, no,
are we
just
really?
the same way I look at mine. Yeah, exactly.
But
it's funny because when she comes and stays, she just kind of makes her own routine, and she'll start listing off things in the morning. And finally, I told her, I was like, I can't do this in the morning. You're gonna have to wait. And so she's like, now I know. I'll wait until you've had your coffee.
I'm blessed that I'm thankful that we both have our parents still, because they're great supports. Ms. Turner, kind of moving on to some closing questions. If you've watched the episodes before, it's the same two questions that I ask everyone. What is something most people would not know about you?
It may surprise some people, and it may not surprise others, but my family has grown up all our lives going to the lake, and my parents live at a lake now, so we spend a lot of time on the water and in the water, and I don't know how to swim.
So you just lay out a lot, or?
I can doggy paddle, and I always have a life jacket. Yeah. Now, I also get very, very strong motion sickness, so I can't even sit on the dock with them. So if I'm in the water with a life jacket, I'm great.
Do you like to be in the water?
Oh, I love it. I just never learned how to swim. I tried. I took swimming lessons all the time when I was growing up, but
well, it's never too late.
Never caught on. And my sister was on swim team all her life, and she's like a fish, and her kids are fish, and my kids. So when my kids were young, I put them in swim team just to make sure that they could swim, and they're great swimmers, but never could.
A lake house. That's awesome. That is awesome.
It's amazing.
Well, you never know. You might learn how to swim.
I keep trying.
Because if you have grandbabies, maybe while they're in the lessons, then
there you go.
You learn to swim with them. And next question: how do you want to be remembered? 100 years from now, I feel like I always have to clarify that. How do you want to be remembered?
There's a lot of things that I think that people could say, but I hope that just generally what I said about my kids, that I had a strong Christian faith, and that I was just genuinely a good person that tried to do well for others.
Well, the season that you were in my life, not that you won't be, not as often, but the season that I had you here, I can say I will remember you that way.
Thank you.
Although I hope that one day we still cross paths again.
I don't doubt it'll happen.
So now we're going to transition into some rapid fire questions. These are, hopefully you don't have to think into too much into. It's either one or the other, or maybe just a simple answer. So here we go. Sweet or sour?
Sweet and sour. I love gummy anything, so like gummy candy that's sweet and sour. Yeah, put it together.
Cool answer. I like that. Next vacation?
Probably in Lubbock, because that's the only place I feel like we go lately. Yeah, we don't have anything scheduled,
Not
so.
any plans? You have?
No.
You have a lot of busy though.
I have a
You
lot of busy
coming up.
So I guess Lubbock.
Ms. Turner, what about your favorite quote or Bible verse?
So, Brad and I just finished wrapping up, we just wrapped up helping with confirmation class at our church, and that's one of the questions that the pastor asks all the kids, and she asked it of us also. So it is, let's see, I have it right here. 1 Corinthians, it is, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, and it goes on and on. And I heard one time someone said to take the word love and put your name in it. So Krista is patient, Krista is kind. And after I heard that, it just meant a little something different. That's really how we should I want to try and live. So that has become my favorite Bible verse.
Oh my gosh. Mic drop. Really, because when you put your name in it, it just completely changes the meaning to it, and how often we have to be reminded of
Yes.
We went through some difficult, like customer service stuff, and it was, so I do a daily devotional.
Yes.
And like my devotional was yesterday morning was like about making sure you love people and love people. It was just about loving people. And I'm like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen today, Lord? That you're reminding me.
And it's not always
And
easy.
it's just sometimes those small interactions, like even with what I felt like we didn't have good customer service, that we could have been very mean, but then I'm like, you love, and you're love, and you know, in a Jesus way.
It's not always easy,
and
but
so
you can always do a little better. So
that will stick to me. What about your favorite food?
Oh, I would probably say seafood of some sort. I love shrimp and lobster and crab and all that. I don't get to eat it now.
What about crawfish?
Fresh crawfish, just fish in general.
Would you rather snuggle up and read a book or go for a walk?
Both. I would like to go on a walk and then come home and snuggle up and read a book.
That's perfect. Dogs or cats?
Oh, definitely dogs. We have 3 right now. So we have always had dogs, and usually we have multiple. So, and right now we have 3. The reason I go for walks.
Would you rather travel back in time or travel to the future?
I don't know that I'd want to do either one. I kind of just, if I could travel back in time to when I was younger, I would probably do that again. But I don't know that I would want to go like back into history at all. I like living my life.
That's great. I love to hear that, because sometimes we either are living in the past or just living in the future. So being happy with where you're at. That's a blessing.
Very.
That is a blessing. I feel like we've talked about everyone. We're closing up. I know I've had you here for a while. But we haven't talked about Kim and her family. I graduated with Kim.
Yes.
How is Kim?
They're great. Yeah, she and Abby were here for graduation and stayed with us. Abby is 5, and she's wonderful. Max is going to be 2 this summer, and we'll be closer to them. I'm excited about that. To get to, as my kids are exiting the school year, so there's not so many activities to go. Hers are entering the school year, so it'll be exciting to get to go and see all those little things.
You get to be a part of the pre-K
Yeah.
graduation,
Yeah.
kinder graduation, and
Right.
just those things. I love that. It really hit me. I told you this already, but when she said, I'll miss having the excuse
To come home.
back to Spearman, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so true.
Yeah. When she left the house the other day, it was different. She said, I'm gonna never be in this house again. Because it was my parents' house that we live in now, so some people may not notice that. But,
Again, those chapters
Yeah.
that just come to an end too fast. They can just be so
They
hard to
do.
close sometimes. Miss Turner, I've had such a great time talking to you
Me
today.
too. Thank
It's
you.
been fun. I'm gonna read it because I don't want to miss. I don't want to mess it up. But I have Miss Turner. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me today. I want to say thank you because you're not only invested to GBE. I have in my agenda. You are invested in our community, and you've made so many relationships on campus, but off campus as well. Just earlier, you were telling me about one of the projects that you invested your time in, and you talk about your church, and there's so many components of the impacts that you've had in Spearman. So thank you for the time that you dedicated to Spearman, and not that Spearman is now coming to an end, a chapter like we talked about. I hope that you come back one day and we can sit down and talk again, even if it's not on camera.
The
But-
reunion.
Yes, something. We need to catch up again because
Yes.
it's been fun today.
Thank you.
So
I've enjoyed it.
Thanks for taking some time and talking to me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching another episode. It has been such a fun adventure. I love to hear when people make connections through these conversations. I love to get to highlight you. I love for the world to get to know more about you. I hope your summer keeps going great, and we'll see you around. Don't forget that we love because He loved us first. Until next time.